So my name is Maria Polski. I am new to general semantics. I'm here to learn. I hope I won't put my foot in my mouth too much. I come from background in linguistics. And of course, this thing isn't working, but oh well. I observe a lot of potential overlaps between general semantics and linguistics in all the areas of linguistics. So I would like to just mention where I'd like to see more cross citation. To prepare for this talk, I looked at citation pools in different papers in different areas, which should be related, and I do not see enough cross-pollination between different fields. Let's start with semantics. Where linguists study the meanings of words and how those words change. I hope that maybe general semanticists could reach out to the linguistics department and invite more students from linguistics departments to talk about semantics. Lexicology studies specific ways that scientific terms behave in addition to history of words, and specific terms need to be narrowed down and beaten into a very one-dimensional function, which is something that Korzybski mentions. And if we want to be exactly clear of what we want to say, we need to index words so that we know exactly, which is what happens in terminology studies. So the next person to invite would be a terminologist. Automated systems do something that Korzybski is talking about. How do we make language more precise? And this is what linguists are doing to adapt language to automated systems. Of course, sociolinguistics and pragmatics, not to be confused with pragmatism, is something that talks about context all the time, and more fundamental areas of linguistics study the principles of language, and there are 5 major principles of language. One of them is that language can be understood only in context. So what I'm saying is I think we need to be reaching out more to linguistics departments at our respective universities. The important fundamental quality of human language is that it is a discrete combinatorial system, just like DNA is a discrete combinatorial system. I'm connecting that to Korzybski saying that human language cannot adequately reflect the nature of life. Well, human language is structured the same way that DNA is structured. Maybe there is something there to think about, that it could reflect the nature of life in that respect. In addition, there are areas that, well, the remaining 1 million slides of my presentation, if it ever comes up, will be more about ideas that we could be giving to our students, or maybe if someone's still looking for a topic for their PhD dissertation. Let's start with the need to index how much the language is adequate and where it breaks down. Because, we're all here, we're all eating, drinking, and listening, so language is adequate to a certain extent, right? We were able to get together and order food because language did serve its purpose. So when Korzybski says that language is inadequate, I need the delineation. At what point is it inadequate? And of course, we could all talk about the metaphors, the sarcasm, the areas where language does break down, but it doesn't always break down. Now I would like my cheat sheet, but there are possible connections between Korzybski and Darwin. Charles Darwin explains how a language has allowed us to formulate our thoughts more exactly, and puts language at the basis of the development of human species as essential for the development of intellect, because language allows us to be more precise in formulating our thoughts, and development of morality, because through giving feedback to our fellow tribe members, we encourage them to behave in the ways that are considered moral within our tribe. So I see connections there, possible connections with general semantics. And again, guys, I'm going from memory here.
Thank
you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to send that.
Okay. So again, back to Korzybski saying that it would be nice to streamline the human language. The obstacle of streamlining the human language is the nature of language. When I was an undergrad, one of our professors started her lecture by, language is in a state of flux. That's by definition the state of language. And Korzybski says some difficulties are avoidable, but some are inherent in the structure of human language, and so cannot be entirely evaded. Korzybski also says that the language is inadequate because it was put together by savages who didn't know enough about the world. Well, here I would like somebody to take it up and argue against that, because I think here Korzybski underestimates the savages, because they knew their world. The proof is that we're all descendants of people who survived the saber-tooth, right? So that's a topic you can assign to students. What better corresponds to the structure of the world? Korzybski says the language of mathematics. Pythagoras, Stoics, St. Augustine, scholastics, Cartesian linguistics, and evolutionary view of language say the structure of language adequately reflects the structural world. So here is another student's paper, whether it's on an undergrad level or graduate level, mathematics versus language as the reflection of the world. Thought doesn't always reflect exactly what goes on in our brains. And there are some people who argue that we cannot think without language. Then there are other people who demonstrate on examples, yes, we can very well think without language. There are always limited or broken language. There are studies of creative people who come up with their ideas based on visual images. Famously, Einstein formulated the theory of relativity by imagining himself falling in an elevator. So it was not language, it was visual. We have stories about languageless adults who grew up deaf people who grew up without access to sign language. And then once they do receive access to sign language, we discover that they have been thinking without language, except now they finally received the interface to be able to say that. New level of physics. I love that. Korzybski says, I think Korzybski was kind of worried by the discovery of quantum physics, because as I was reading Science and Sanities, but now we see that the world is different, and our language totally doesn't reflect the quantum level. And then Korzybski says, conceivably, there would be a subquantum level, because who is to say that it's not a ladder going all the way down? Now the subquantum level has been discovered. And if I had my slides, I would have given you references, but it's a book by Russian physicist Vladimir Skrebnev. It's called, it's a popular book for general audiences, Apes, Quants, and Subquantum World, or Quo Vadis. So I highly recommend. Is anybody here who is actually in hard sciences and understands physics? Okay, well, assign it to students. They'll figure it out. there's a field called cognitive semiotics. Korzybski and Jacobson, right? There are 6 functions of language, and I think Korzybski only disagrees with the 6th one, the poetic one, because this is when the clarity of language does break down on the poetic level. And we want it to break down because we want poetry, right, Adina? So, there is Plato and Korzybski. Thank you, Laura. Aristotle and Korzybski. So I'm picking up where Laura left off. And on this, happy learning, and I wish your students exciting papers. Thank you.